Hello. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. My name is Jake. I am a regression hypnotist as well as a level 2 qhht practitioner. I have a very interesting session story to share with y'all today. As I'm sure many of you know, energy worker, grid worker, energy healer, all of these are pretty common terms to hear in both the New Age as well as light worker communities. Reiki, along with many other modalities, are commonly used by awakened individuals and healers, and really are, I think, gaining popularity as we see many of the systems that we've depended on in the past failing us. So the session that I wanted to share today is one where my client was working with energy and consciousness in a really amazing, cool way. So I've had quite a few sessions where we've had lifetimes come up with that had to do with energy work, and I am planning on sharing those in the future, hence the part one, because I think there's a lot of purpose and meaning to be found in these lifetimes. And that's not only for those individual clients, but I think for us as a collective. All right, so let's jump right in. So my client became aware of their surroundings as they dropped into this lifetime. They felt they were in the American Southwest. They described really dry dirt. It was nighttime, and they were describing their surroundings to me. So they saw these really tall, like striated or layered rock around them. It formed like a U-shape alcove. They kept bringing up that really dry dirt, and they described the cracking in the ground underneath them. They described their appearance as Native American male. They weren't young, they weren't old, kind of middle-aged, and they were wearing soft leather, both shoes, a vest, a hat, all made out of soft leather. What was interesting was that they said it was almost hard to focus on their body at this point because, in their words, their body was secondary. And that made a little more sense as we got a sense as to what they were doing in this lifetime, in this moment, and why they were here in this location. So another interesting point that they brought up was that time felt not important. It was almost as if time was standing still. They were squatting down with both their hands on the ground, and they described sending their consciousness or expanding their consciousness out. As they said this, I was very interested. I wanted to know more, so I asked them to continue to describe it to me, what they were seeing, what they were feeling around them. So they could feel all of the animals and the earth around them. They said, like, it's all alive, so I can feel it. They called out a bobcat that was nearby, a kangaroo mouse, which immediately, I remembered a report that I wrote in 5th grade about the kangaroo mouse, and I did a little research and remembered that they primarily are found in Nevada as well as other parts of the American Southwest. So, another kind of confirmation of where we were. Anyway, as my client was saying before, the earth was experiencing a drought. We had called out that really dry, cracked earth. And he said at this point that he could feel the dryness of the earth. He could feel down into these cracks. He could feel how dry and how in need of water the earth was. He also, it was interesting, went so far down that he could find like an underground river. He could feel that moisture and that liquid down there. It was interesting what he said next, because he said it wasn't a bad thing, that this drought wasn't something that needed to be fixed. He had almost like a detached air about him, a detached way of speaking about this, and very much had this attitude of just being, of just existing, and that the earth, this was just matter of fact how the earth was at this time. He went on to say that there was something that he could do about the drought, because not only did he feel that river underneath, but he knew he could sense where it came above ground, like he could find that water if he needed to. But he said something along the lines of, like, it wasn't his place. It wasn't his place to fix it. And this did make more sense as we got further into the story and as more information came through. At this point, he had like a return to his body, and he described seeing the sun rising, or that's what he thought at first. And then he kind of oriented himself and was like, wait, that's the sun setting. It's in the west. It was interesting because both of us were a little bit puzzled at that statement. Like, it was just nighttime. How is the sun setting? Did we jump? Did we jump time? Like, what's going on? But he came to the awareness that because of that spot, because of the uniqueness of that spot, time didn't exist in the same way as the world, the greater world. He had that sense of time standing still, and so it was obviously even more complicated than that. And so I was trying to ask some more questions to figure out, like, what is this place? Like, what's the significance? And he stated at this point that there was a ley line there, or an energy line at that spot. And not only that, but he could feel the energy in the rocks. They were harmonic, and I definitely thought of the ways that frequency and consciousness work together. And so I asked, what was the purpose of being in this spot? Like, why was he working, or like expanding his consciousness in this way, in this spot? He said there was no other purpose besides that connection. No other purpose besides just connecting to the earth, connecting to nature around him. I kept asking questions because I was very curious, and he shared that he was the only one in his community that could do this. This was not something that was common to everyone that he was around, in his general vicinity. He did say that he had an awareness of others who could do this. He could, again, in that expanded consciousness place, he could feel someone. It was a shaman who was very far away from him, who had the same connection, same ability to connect. At this point, though, he was reflecting on having these abilities. I was asking him, like, how long have you always been able to do this? Just trying to get a sense as to where this ability to expand his consciousness, this ability to feel into the world around him, where it came from, how long he had this. And he cited the year 7 as the first time that he came to this place, and he felt the nature, he felt the world around him in this way. He shared that he lived a really solitary life away from the larger community, that he knew people, but that there wasn't close connections. He shared about his mother and growing up with his mother, but he had a sense that his father had died, that his father wasn't in the picture anymore, and he didn't have a spouse or anyone super close, which again made more sense with the deeper we got into this story and the more information that came up. But he did clarify that the people in the community respected him, that they had a sense as to what he could do, and his connection, and that they had a respect for him. After experiencing this younger version of himself, kind of explaining a little more about his community and the people around him and his relationships, he felt called to go back to that spot and to feel more into that spot that held so much significance. When he got back to that place, he described seeing that ley line, seeing that line of energy, and from this perspective of dream walking, that's the term that he used for kind of seeing with his mind's eye, or I got the sense that it was similar to like either astral travel or remote viewing, that sort of out of body viewing, not on the physical level. But he described these ley lines, and it was super interesting. He described them extending out in an arc across the Earth's surface, that he could see them, and his description was really, really interesting. So I wanted to share that description in his words so that you can hear it firsthand. So let me play that clip for you. And I should say as well, don't mind the loud air conditioning sound, please. I got a new air conditioning unit. It was a really hot day, and I didn't realize how loud it would end up being on the final recording. So I do apologize for that, but I think you can still hear all of the dialogue just fine. So let me play that clip for you.
And they're actually not exactly in the ground. They're slightly above the ground, where at least the energy is. It goes up into the... They're not just in the ground. They can stretch up, and if I connect with them, it's like they're backwards waterfalls. Like they stretch up into the sky, but only when I focus on them. It's like there's what I know is there, and then there's what I move when I focus on them. It's not a waterfall though, it's like beams of light. They go up in like a big sheet, like Northern Lights.
All right, so like you just heard, described them as kind of like the Northern Lights, these waves of energy coming up from the ground. But I thought it was super interesting that expansion upwards only happened when he was focusing on it. They responded to his consciousness. Super interesting. So at this point, he was really tapped in and really getting a lot of information coming through. And he said that he had an awareness of his other lifetimes, and that not only that, but he knew why he was here in that lifetime, why he had incarnated, and why he had planned his life that way. Interestingly, he said that he really did not come this time for a big life, as he put it, nor was he here to fix the Earth's energy. Again, reminding you the line about not fixing the drought. He said that he wasn't here at this time to interfere with the cycles, as he put it. There was a very much an observer perspective that he was describing. He said that even though he knew how to do all of this, even though he had this ability to expand his consciousness, that he had this ability to tap in to the world around him, to all of the living things around him, tapping into that knowledge, that he was not here to take action in any sort of... And I will say that his higher self later on clarified that as well, and kind of explained a little more of what his role in that lifetime was, and his purpose there. But like I said, he had a conscious awareness of this. He said that he's had that awareness since he was 7, which was when, like I mentioned earlier, that was his first moment of connecting to the Earth in this way. Which really made a lot of sense to me, that when you open up and you connect to the cosmos around you in that way, that knowledge and information would come through. I was definitely reminded of the ways that people connect to the Akashic records, to cosmic knowledge, remembering their own or others' past lives, or their purpose in their lifetime. I mean, I certainly have a first-hand experience with that in my sessions using hypnosis in this way. So truly working with consciousness is so powerful. And it was so interesting to have the information come up in this lifetime. All right, so at this point, I had recalled a line that he said earlier, mentioning the importance of the Earth, but then also of the stars. And I asked him can you connect with the stars in a similar way that you can connect with the earth and with the animals around you? And he said yes, and went on to describe the feeling of the stars. So as someone who loves the stars and feels connected to the galaxy in a myriad of ways, I think that it's super interesting what he shared and what he described. So I'm going to play that for you now.
Yeah. Wow. They are like the best kind of sleep, where you feel them and your body feels rested. They're like the best kind of sleep. And they're just there. I just look at them. But if I reach out, there's peace. The feeling of peace is in the stars, in their energy.
The best sleep, the feeling of peace in their energy. I just thought it was so interesting. He went on to describe that the stars felt different based on where they were in the sky. He was kind of describing like quadrants of the night sky, and how at any given point they felt different, and they felt different depending on where you were as well. Super interesting. He had said something like, there's a lot of information there, there's a lot here, I could talk forever about the stars to you. And so we didn't get into it. We were, had been exploring for quite some time and didn't really have the time to just like keep going. But really loved that part. Hope you enjoyed as well. So I moved on and I asked him, what were the lessons you were learning? What was the purpose of that lifetime? And he started by sharing that life was really specific and focused, that it was all about learning. So I'll share his own words on a bit of those lessons and that purpose of that lifetime.
How to connect. It was just all about how to connect to energy, to learn how to extend my consciousness out into the different places, and to understand them. And that's it. Just to learn how to extend my consciousness out and down into the ground, out on the land, to the animals, to the sky, and just simply be. There was nothing to accomplish in that life. It was to be. And to experience that and understand it. Understand how things worked and be small.
All right, so like he had said at a few different points, the life was about learning and understanding that connection, that deep connection of consciousness to the earth, to the stars, to the world, and the cosmos around him. No big acts, no big drama, really specific and focused on that learning piece. All right, so as I do in all of my sessions, I ask to speak with my client's higher self, with their subconscious, and I ask them why they chose this lifetime for my client to see. It's always interesting to compare what the individual has, what perspective they have after the lifetime, to what the higher self has to share in regards to their purpose behind picking it. So let me share their answer now, and then I'll give you my perspective.
To show her what she does already. trust. She doesn't trust that to show her how to be quiet, show her this lifetime. She does that. She doesn't trust that she does that, but she does.
All right. So, like they shared, they wanted her to see an example of what she was capable of, not only in that lifetime, but in this one too. They went on to say that she wasn't so far from that lifetime, from that state of ability. Um, that lifetime was about learning and gathering the experience, and that this lifetime was about putting that learning into action. Thought that was super interesting, especially thinking about the state of transition that we're in as a collective. So, like my client, I think that many of us are feeling this call. We're feeling the call to step into our gifts, into our abilities, and whether we consciously remember it or not, many of us have been developing these gifts in many past lifetimes. Uh, and I think that it's really important to remember this. And I think that this session is a beautiful way that this is illustrated for us, giving us a glimpse as to what is possible when we tap into energy and consciousness, and when we connect with the cosmos. So, like my client in this lifetime, though, I think it bears pointing out that it took stillness, both in the body and outside. Not only did he develop this stillness inside, this calm state, but he also lived in solitary conditions, on the edge of of society. Not saying that everyone needs to become a hermit living up in the mountains or on the edge of town, but I think that finding quiet time alone in nature, connecting to the natural world, and to our higher selves is how we unlock that power, how we unlock these abilities. Because I think it can be a struggle for us in a busy, chaotic world. I also think that, like my client, many of us struggle with that trust, trusting what we feel, what we sense, what we see. We struggle to trust in ourselves, in these subtle realms around us. And I think that that's why the stillness is so important. It helps get us past those blocks. It helps us to disconnect from the busy chaos of the world at large, and really be able to tune in a special way. I think it's important to note as well the ways that my client in this lifetime saw his abilities grow through the lifetime. Had a sense of where they started when he was 7, but they were different when he was older, and they were more enhanced and more tuned in. I think that this helps us to also have a little more forgiveness with ourselves at wherever we are in our journeys. Everyone's journey is unique, and we don't need to be so hard on ourselves that we're not at a certain point, or that we're not further along, because we all have our trajectory to follow. We all have our roadmap that we helped to craft, and that we co-create every day of our lives. And really allowing ourselves the space to grow is so vital, because look at that lifetime. He was simply there to learn and to understand, and to really gain that experience to then use in the next lifetime. So I think it helps to take some of that pressure off. All right. I hope this story was as fascinating for you as it was for me and my client. It was a super interesting lifetime to explore. A lot of really cool information to come through. And I really hope that it does inspire you to carve out a little bit of time in your busy life to find that stillness, both inside and out. Go into nature, see what happens. You know, set your intentions. Um, Ask the earth to help. Ask for that connection, um, and see what comes of it. Because we do. We all have the ability to connect to the cosmos, because we are one with the cosmos. So I hope that you remember that today. All right. If you like this content, please hit that like button. It really does help. Share this with someone if you think they'd enjoy it as well. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Truly, I'm sending you all of the love and light. Thank you so much. Bye for now.